I've really enjoyed using this. Off the bat, I would say one thing to note is that shade number 1, I think, is paler than shade 0 when I've swatched it, just so you know. I've used shade number 1 because I always go for the palest, being pale. I tried this out with a couple of different foundations. The first one being YSL New, which is quite fluid and quite lightweight. I would say that maybe this is more medium to heavy coverage compared to that foundation. So they didn't pair completely as I wanted them to, but on the other hand, when I tried it with my Shiseido Synchro Skin foundation, this was perfect. It's got the same balmy texture. It's super hydrating, feels really nice to go on. I would just say the main thing that I noticed when using it is I found it was best to apply it with a finger rather than a sponge or a brush.
I chose number 3 shade for the Instant Concealer with Clarins. This shade for my eye area in particular is perfect because I do suffer with dark circles, and it is perfect. I haven't been using it on any other face area just because it is a bit dark, so I would go for the number 2 or number 1 shade, but it's perfect for the eye area. It goes on really smooth as well and just sort of melts into the skin, so I will continue to use this under my eyes.
This is shade 01. So I really like this concealer. I've literally got no bad words to say about it. I really liked how the consistency was really light, so I've been using it a lot underneath my eyes and it has been creasing. Paired really well with kind of the existing products in my routine, so I really liked it. I've literally used it every single day since I've had it, and I was a bit hesitant that it was going to be a bit too light for me, but it actually worked out to be really well because I loved how light it is. It worked really well underneath my eyes, and I prefer a kind of lighter shade underneath my eyes just to brighten everything up. The consistency was really light, so I found that it worked really well underneath my eye area. Your eyes tend to move a lot, so creasing can be a problem, but because this was so light, I didn't find that was a problem. And I also paired it with a loose powder underneath my eyes, which helped as well to stop any creasing or it moving around. You could definitely use this formula on spots. I think it did have good coverage. However, for me, I chose a lighter shade, so I'd probably go 1 shade darker if I wanted to use it on other areas of my face to conceal blemishes.
I've been using the Clarins Instant Concealer in shade 3. I suffer with quite severe dark circles, and I often find that I have to layer my concealer quite a lot. But with this, I loved, you don't have to layer it at all. I just needed 3 little dots and it completely covered my under eye. It has quite a thick texture, thick creamy texture, but it also feels incredibly lightweight, so it's really comfortable throughout the day. Really impressed with the coverage. I didn't find that the Clarins Instant Concealer creased at all under my eyes. It worked really well to cover my dark circles because it had that slightly thicker texture, which meant it was higher coverage. But that doesn't mean it wasn't lightweight, because it was really lightweight on my skin. You barely need any. I only had 3 dots on my under eye and it gave me a really strong coverage. The one thing I would say is I do wish there was a broader shade range, because I did pick 3, but I felt I was somewhere between a 2 and a 3. I didn't actually use this on any spots because it didn't blend well with the rest of my skin tone, but I felt it did work really well on my under eyes. I think it has pretty good wear. I'd say like 6 hours on my skin. The Clarins concealer sat really well under the rest of my makeup. I think because of the shade ranges, the fact that I was kind of in between a 2 and a 3, I did feel like I needed my foundation to kind of blend it out to my skin tone. It did blend quite well with my foundation, so it matched my skin tone, but I probably wouldn't wear it without my foundation.
The Clarins Instant Concealer I was expecting to use exclusively under my eyes, which it has been amazing. It gets rid of dark circles straight away and it doesn't crease at all. It's super hydrating without going oily or having any odd texture. But I've also found this has been a really good concealer for those spots that are a bit sort of dry and crusty, or if you have any dryness around your nose or redness, this just glides on and feels really hydrating whilst giving you that coverage. I normally get quite a lot of breakouts around my chin and they tend to be a bit scabby, I guess, and the concealer just glides over and you can't see it anymore. I've got shade 2, which has quite a warm undertone. Yes, it has quite a warm undertone, shade 2, but I think that works really well for dark circles. And because I have a slightly like olivey complexion, this has worked really, really well for spots as well. It didn't crease on me at all. Because it's so hydrating, it felt almost like skincare rather than makeup. It didn't move from underneath my eyes, and even when I put powder on top, it just sort of settled really smoothly.
I'm wearing shade 2, which I personally really liked. I think it looks really good with my skin. I really enjoyed actually trying out Clarins' new eye concealer. I've only used it on my eyes, but I think the coverage is really nice. It definitely helps with dark circles. I have got it on today, whereas normally I would have about an hour and a half sleep more. So this has helped cover that. Because it's a liquid, it does have a little bit of a shine to it. So it's great for sort of brightening and cancelling out the under eye darkness. But I think I personally prefer to use maybe like a powder foundation or like a powder setting, something like that, just to take away a little bit of the brightness and the shine if you haven't got maybe more of a radiant foundation on, just to make it look a little bit more natural. I've really enjoyed using this, but I will say that I personally prefer using a powder over the top just to take away a little bit of the shine, because it is quite a brightening liquid, so I think that helps. I personally think it was enough coverage. I don't know if it's the highest coverage concealer I've ever tried, but I think for a day-to-day one, I really liked it.
My experience with the Clarins Instant Concealer has been a positive one. I found the texture really hydrating. It's like almost like a fluid-like texture. I think it's perfect for the under eye or if you have dry skin on your complexion. Really enjoyed using it. It's very radiant, which I think is perfect for under eye, especially if you have drier skin. I would say that I've chosen shade 2 for my under eye. I think I actually quite like a lighter shade, so in hindsight I would have chosen a lighter shade, but I do like to use this one on my face with my foundation because it's more suited to that.
The reason why I picked Clarins is because I love a skincare infused makeup product, especially concealer, as around my eyes I tend to get creasing, I've got blue areas, I've got fine lines, so anything that can help diffuse all that is literally a bit of me. What I was going to do is just put some on now just to show everyone. I went for shade 2. I was so surprised at how well it fit my skin tone, almost a bit too much if I'm honest. I wish I went a little bit lighter, as I quite like to see a difference in my under eyes to keep them nice and bright. But on days where I wanted to be a little bit more natural, or just going to the gym, it was perfect. It was a really perfect match. Now, I tested it all day without powdering and I was really impressed at the coverage and how it lasted. Yeah, really impressed with the coverage, really impressed how well it didn't crease, and I think that's down to the fact that it's got hyaluronic acid in. When your skin's plump and moisturised, makeup loves it and lasts longer, so highly recommend it for someone who wants a really natural looking concealer. It did work on blemishes for me, as the colour was a really good match for my skin tone. I've actually put a before and after on my Instagram. What I'll do is I'll link it in the caption so you can see where it covered and how well it covered, and it was really natural looking concealer, so happy with that.